Hi there, Ashley here with We Make Systems Sexy. I'm excited to be coming to talk to you guys about another awesome Dubsado feature. I know I mentioned this in one of my recent lives talking about Dubsado's custom mapped fields, but we didn't really get into it because it's a whole subject of its own. So for today, we are going to talk about Dubsado's custom map fields, what they are, and some use cases for them. So I'm excited to jump in because this seems like such a small thing, but you can use this for a lot of things that are going to help to speed up the process when you are actually onboarding new clients. Utilizing custom map fields are just such a handy little tool that Dubsado offers. So the first question is, when I'm talking about fields, what am I talking about? Well, inside Dubsado, fields are referring to areas where your clients are entering information. So, for example, there might be a field for your client's name or their email address, whatever. So, for example, on the lead capture form, you have the option to actually map those fields into the project. So, those are some of the required mapped fields that Dubsado already has set up. From the lead capture form, it's going to understand that that's the client's first name, their email address, their last name, those kind of details. So those are already mapped fields, which means that wherever that smart field, client first name, pops up anywhere within the project, it's going to remember that my name is Ashley, for example. Which brings me to fields being used in that sense, smart fields. We've heard that word before too. So again, a smart field is then a place inside the project where you can just say client first name instead of each time having to type out their actual name each and every time, client email address, client address, etc. And it's already going to have all of that information mapped out just by using the smart field because it already gathered that information before using those mapped fields. So let's talk a little bit more about what these custom mapped fields would be then. Because every business and every business owner conducts their business in a unique way, there might be custom fields that you feel like you would like to create or information that you would like to gather that can easily populate that is unique to your business. So within Dubsado, you have the option to create client custom fields and project custom fields. So two different options. So then what is the difference between a client custom field and a project custom field or custom client field? Well, a client field is going to be particular to that client. And that means at times we might have more than one project for one client, right? So if that's the case, that information that we have in a client field, a custom client field, is going to show up every time you create a project for that client. For example, you have their name and their information, their email address, and those kind of details. But if you created a unique client field, it would also show up alongside all that other client information every time you created a project. So this would make sense for something like if you wanted to record the client's birthday or their wedding date or something like that, and you wanted that to always carry over in their client information, you would map that as a client field. It can be any other details that are maybe personal to that actual client. So think outside the box of how that actually applies to your business. But a custom project field is going to be different, right? So we're using the different words, client field and project field. A project field is storing information within that project. So for example, I might do a Dubsado build for a client and a ClickUp build for a client. And those are two different projects, but for the same client. I have two separate projects. I might not want the same project fields for each of those different projects because they're two different platforms that I'm setting up and they might have completely different requirements. While my client fields can remain the same because it's information pertinent to that client, my project fields might want to pull in different information. So we've used this example. Let's see, project fields, for example, folders, like links to folders in Google Drive that we create. And we actually have it where that's specific to the project rather than to the client information. So we want it to only be stored within that project, but they're actual special fields that it's going to populate that little link for me every time I want it. And I can reference that actual custom field. In different industries, that might be applied in a different way. So if you have or if you're, for example, in the wedding industry or something like that, you might be thinking about something particular to the wedding details. Say that you're a photographer and you've done your engagement session with this client, then they sign up and they want you to shoot their wedding. And then later on, their 1-year anniversary pictures and then their baby's pictures, whatever. You want that same client information. So that would be a client field, but for each project, you're likely going to have different project details. Maybe the color scheme of the wedding, information about the baby, and it's going to apply to the different projects. So again, think outside the box for how this can apply to your unique business model. All right, so that's just touching a little bit on how you can use these custom fields for either the client fields or the project fields. Again, think about how you work in your business and what makes sense, what kind of information that you want to gather, what kind of information comes up a lot that you don't want to have to be manually trying to type in, and see how that works for streamlining your Dubsado build. So in this edition of our newsletter, I'm going to actually show you what it looks like to create a custom field. But for today's live, that's all I'm presenting on those custom fields. You're going to have to tune into the newsletter if you want to actually see that in action, how it's done. Aside from that, if you have questions about Dubsado, we are trying to talk a little bit more about a service that I feel like I don't give enough attention to, but it really is a star of the show, and that's our Dubsado audit. So perhaps you are already using Dubsado in your business, but you are not sure if you're really using it to the fullest, to its capacity. And that does happen. Dubsado is a very robust platform, so that's understandable. You can actually sign up for a Dubsado audit with us to see what is the health of your Dubsado account, what things that you need to actually improve. You would get our suggestions on all of that and how to do it. And basically, what are the next steps in order to implement the suggestions that we give to you? So if you are interested in seeing how your Dubsado is functioning, if you're already using it, please reach out, shoot us a DM, shoot us a message, email, whatever, and ask about Dubsado audit. Now, if you're new to Dubsado, but you know that this is the platform that you want to work with, then my VIP day might be for you. Feel free to shoot us a DM to understand a little bit more about how that VIP day works, but it's basically getting your Dubsado up and running in one day. So instant gratification, we all love that. All right, enjoyed it. I'll see y'all next Friday. Bye.